In this tutorial, I'll show you how to quickly and easily remove noise and speed up your render times. Before we dive in, I'll let you know I'm on a Mac with an Intel Xeon processor. This technique should work on Windows if you're using Intel or have an NVIDIA GPU, but since I do not have a way of testing it, you'll have to experiment. But the workflow should be the same. Also, the technique I'm about to show you only works on still images and not animation. First, I have a basic interior scene here, which if you've ever tried lighting with indirect lighting, you'll know you tend to get very noisy images. My scene consists of a room with a window, a light portal, and I'm lighting my entire scene with a sky dome light with an HDRI image. Also, inside the room, I have a couple of cubes and a pyramid with a reflective shader. Also, in my render settings, I've changed my width to 1920 and my height to 1080. And under ray depth, I've changed the diffuse from 1 to 5. This will add several more bounces of light in my room. If you're familiar with photography or video lighting, think of raising the diffuse value as adding a fill light to the scene. If I leave all the other Arnold settings at their default and press render, this is what you'll get. This took 6 minutes and 51 seconds on my computer to render, and you can see the image is very grainy. I've seen other tutorials where at this point, they'll advise you to set up AOV passes and look at each pass to identify what pass has the most noise, so they can target that pass specifically in our render settings. I'll go ahead and show you that process now. Go ahead and click your render settings. Under save, make sure you're saving a regular image and a multi-pass image. Select Arnold. Make sure you select the AOVs tab. Under inactive AOVs, type diffuse. Double-click diffuse. Double-click diffuse direct. And diffuse indirect. Then go ahead and click render. So now I'm inside of Photoshop. I want to turn off the visibility for all my layers. And specifically what I want to look at is diffuse direct and diffuse indirect. I want to see where the noise is present. So if I look at diffuse direct, I see there's a small amount of noise, but it's not too bad. If I look at diffuse indirect, I'll see this is where most of my noise is present. So I'll go ahead and jump back into Cinema 4D. So now back in Cinema 4D, I'm going to go ahead and click the render settings. And since all our noise was present in the diffuse, I'm going to go ahead and turn that up to 6. And we're going to go ahead and click render. This file now took 34 minutes and 18 seconds to render. If we compare the two indirect passes, I did reduce the noise, but it took over 30 minutes to now render the file. I'm going to go ahead and jump back into Cinema 4D. I'm going to go ahead and try to clean that file up. So I'm going to jump into my render settings, and I'm going to turn camera up to 6 and diffuse up to 5. And I'm going to go ahead and click render. This render took just over 2 hours. It's a usable file, but we have dramatically increased our render times. You could probably go through a lot of settings, tweaking things, and cut the time down, but this also takes a lot of experimenting and a lot of time. Thanks to Lee Griggs over at Arnold, who showed me this technique, we can get the same quality as the 2-hour render in a matter of minutes. So now back in Cinema 4D, there are two ways to add this effect. The first is through the IPR window. If you don't already have that open, go under Arnold and click IPR window. With the IPR window open, go ahead and click the Post tab. Under Imagers, click Add. And I have an Intel Xeon in my Mac, so I'm going to choose Intel OIDN Denoiser. If we look now at our render settings, this has been added. And at that point, all you would do is click render. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And I'm going to show you the second way of adding this. Go under Effect, Arnold Imager, and in the drop-down menu, again choose Intel and click render. We have a much cleaner image, and this only took 7 minutes to render. If you compare this file to the file that took over 2 hours, they're very similar, but at a fraction of the time. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe.